see you guys in the dark.
This had happened yesterday. I will preface with the fact that we are entering into a building phase of our house right now, so I'm meeting a lot of contractors and new people. We have been having trouble finding someone to do our foundation. Over the last month, I have called tons of people who have said they can't do the job, but know someone who can, and then give me their name and number. I call and I get the same answer, rinse and repeat. After a lot of this, I finally land the number of a guy named Joe. Joe sounded excited to do the job. He was the most irresponsive and also nicest person that I've run into so far, contractor wise. We set up a meeting time, and he came to my place to see the site. He seemed confident that he could do the job. He then asked to take the plans home with him so he can go over them, and said that he would get back to me with a quote soon. I agreed, gave him the plans, but told him I would need them back soon, and that was that. Not long after that, we met with a second contractor who we ultimately ended up hiring for the job. On Friday, I realized Joe still had the plans, and it's coming time now that the first steps are about to happen, and we needed the plans back. So I had texted him, "Hey Joe, would I be able to come and get those architectural plans from you?" "Yeah, I can stop by tomorrow. I can meet you now in town if that is easier. I need to go to the store anyways." "All right, what time?" he says. "Soon at the grocery store parking lot." "Yeah, sounds good. I'll be there." Around noon yesterday, I arrived at the grocery store parking lot. I text Joe right away saying that I've arrived, and he shows up soon after. He pulled up next to my car and got out. I get out as well and notice that he is empty-handed. Confused, I asked where the plans are and if he brought them. "Oh no, they're back at my house. Do you need them?" I'm really annoyed at this point, so I just say yes. The guy who is prepping the site needs them. Joe responds with, "Oh, well, you can follow me back to my house, and I will give them to you." I started to feel alert at this point. Nobody but my husband knows I'm meeting this guy, and I really do not know him very well. So I asked him how far his house was. Joe said it was about 5 minutes, so 4 miles away. The weird vibes are growing more and more as I think about it. Clearly nothing to write home about, but I already get out of there at the drop of a hat if necessary. I said to Joe, "Let me call my husband. I might not have time because we need to be somewhere," giving myself an easy way out just in case. I walk out of earshot so that I could think straight and call my husband. He thankfully answered, and I told him everything that happened so far. He agreed that it sounded really shady and told me to be straight up with Joe and tell him that I wasn't comfortable going to his house. I hung up, walked back to where he was sitting, and I said, "So, I do have time, but I'm not going to your house because I don't know you well enough. But I will wait at the community development park, which is across from the fish factory, a very loud, stinky place that you couldn't miss." He seemed confused and didn't know where I was talking about. So after a bit of back and forth and trying to explain where I was going to wait, I offered to drive first so that he could follow me. That way he could see where I had pulled into. Then would continue to his house, grab the plans, and then meet me back here. I'm very proud of myself at this time because I tend to be a bit timid and too polite. This time I did not beat around the bush and was clear and concise with everything I said. I then got into my car and drove first. Joe had followed me, and I pulled into the development parking lot. I looked to make sure that Joe was following me. I noticed that he had stopped in the middle of an empty street, and he was signaling for me to turn my car around. Since I'm a good distance away, I got out of my car so I can hear what he is saying. He is yelling for me to turn around and follow him because his house is right there. Again, I said no. I wasn't going to his house. I'd wait right there for him to come back. A flash of annoyance went through him, but then he nods and continues down the street, leaving me there to wait for him to return. Less than a minute later, he arrives back with the plans, hands them off to me. I quickly took them, said a goodbye, and then booked it out of there. After I got out of the situation, I was finally able to think and reflect. It took him less than a minute to get to the plans from his house. So it was one of two things. If he lived so close, why didn't he know what the community development parking lot and fish factory were? He could definitely see them from his house if he had lived so close, or he had the plans with him the whole time. Also, I think it's good to note that my husband and I tried looking him up after this. There's nothing about Joe on the internet. He does not have an email business name or registered phone number. I don't even remember who gave me his number. I now realize that aside from my husband, no one knows I have been talking or meeting with him. He simply doesn't exist as a contractor online. And since we never decided to use him as a contractor, I never officially looked him up until now. I work at a retail chain, and in the store there is a liquor department, which is sectioned off from the rest of the grocery store. I was working in that department when a man had come in. He purchased a few alcohol shots and made conversation with me. Everything was normal until he had pulled out an axe from his backpack. I was completely shocked, to be honest. It seems really odd to say, but seeing this very strange man rambling about how nobody would dare to mess with him because he has an axe. He held it out in the open and kept mentioning how sharp the blade was. He cut his receipt in half on the counter in front of me to demonstrate just how sharp that blade was. He was mentioning how it could cut through bone and flesh. I tried not to escalate the situation and didn't really react or say much about the axe. I'm ashamed to say, I was sort of frozen and didn't tell him to put it away or leave. I wanted to keep everything calm and get him out as quickly as possible. I let my supervisor know immediately once he had left. She pulled me to the side and asked me to describe this man. The security officer was able to identify the man on camera. My store manager ended up contacting the police. I gave the police officer my recounting of events. He informed me that he had spoke to the individual outside in the parking lot and they would be trespassed from the store. It was incredibly unnerving being in that situation, in an isolated area with somebody who seems to be mentally unstable holding a huge axe. The first time this happened was when I was in middle school. When I was in seventh grade, I would ride the bus to either my house or my grandmother's on Wednesdays, along with my cousins and siblings. Both houses are at the bottom of two hills and have long driveways. Every Wednesday, we would see a van parked at the top of the hill as we were getting off at my grandmother's house. Once the bus left, the van would drive slowly past the driveway or pull in to watch us. One day, as we were getting off at my house, the van had sped to the driveway and pulled in as we ran as fast as we could to the door. As soon as we got inside, they sped away, as they had seen another vehicle at my house. My grandmother started picking us up at the end of the driveway, and they had stopped. The second and third time this happened, when I was going to college. One night I went to go get some ice cream and went to the grocery store. It was just about dark, but the parking lot was quite full, as it was a small grocery store. My only option was to park next to a white truck. I'm slightly paranoid and try to get out of the car and get into the store as quickly as possible. As I'm getting out of the car, I notice the passenger door of the truck open and an arm try to grab me. I book it inside, and I stay there until the truck leaves and an employee can walk me out. The next year, I began a job at Burlington. We had a regular customer that always came to my register. He seemed a little strange and never really talked to me. A few nights after I got off, I noticed a vehicle had parked near my car every night that doesn't belong to my coworkers. I brush it off, but I stay aware. Often, when I get off, I would go get wings from next door. One night, as I'm waiting in my car for my order, I see the customer get out of this truck and start walking towards me as he is fiddling with something in his hands. I forget about my order and I speed off. I also quit the job shortly after that. Now I'm seeing this same man at every single store that I go to lately. I go out to eat. He's there. I go to the store. He's there. I go to the park with my daughter. He's driving by. I never see him near my house or my work, so I'm unsure if it's just a coincidence. However, I'm starting to get scared to leave my house, as I am scared he's actually following me. I started a new job about 3 months ago in a town over, so my commute is about an hour and a half. I stopped seeing him as I mostly go from home and work. However, I now have seen him in the town that I work in. I usually go to Subway for lunch on Mondays, and have seen him there the last 2 weeks.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.